China had this brilliant grand strategy, which was, sure, America is hostile because America is hegemonic. America wants to control the world. America will never let China rise. America will do everything it can to hold China down. So we're going to have hostility from America. We don't want to decouple because we need that high-end technology transfer. Either we buy it or we steal it because America and the rest of the West has all the technology that we need. We have some of it domestically, more than before by a lot, but we're still dependent, so we can't decouple. So we'll have the hostility, but there'll be a line we don't cross just so that we don't lose the technology transfer. Till Made in China 2035 is accomplished, and we're self-sufficient domestically in AI and every other area that's critical. But hostility from America. But we have an ace in the hole. Our ace in the hole is Europe. Europe hates conflict. They're all about trade. It doesn't matter how evil you are. They love to trade because Wandel durch Handel, change through trade. They have this illusion that you're going to become a better country if they trade with you, and you won't have conflict, war, and hostilities if you trade. And so we have this European ace in the hole. We're hostile with the Americans. We're still buying or stealing their technology. And better than that even, the Europeans are not hostile to us at all. They love to trade with us, and they want to trade more, and they're our biggest trading partner already. And lo and behold, Xi Jinping sides with Vladimir Putin in the aggression in Ukraine. He doesn't side with him providing military equipment. He doesn't provide technology transfer, but he provides public support and massive pro-Russian propaganda to the whole Chinese population. And the Europeans say, wait a minute, this is an invasion of a sovereign country in Europe. What do you mean you're not condemning Vladimir Putin's invasion? And so that wedge that the Chinese had, that was the basis of their grand strategy, that wedge between the US and Europe when it came to China policy, that wedge is gone now. Xi Jinping destroyed it. And the Europeans and the Americans are coming close together on Ukraine and Russia policy for sure, but also more and more on China policy. And so that was a pretty big sacrifice for the Chinese leader to make. And what did he get in return? He gets hydrocarbons from Russia at reduced prices. And the Chinese get hydrocarbons from a lot of countries. They have a completely diverse supply chain for their energy.
So what do you think Xi Jinping is thinking now? Was it a mistake? Or
I'd like to know, Lex. I'd like you to be able to sit down with him across from this table here on your podcast and pose that same question to him, because we have no idea.
There's a language barrier that's fascinating. By the way, you as a scholar of Stalin, do you think we'll ever break through the language barrier to China? Not ever, I apologize, in the next few years, because there is a gigantic cultural and language barrier between the West and the Chinese.
China's a great civilization.
It is.
China predates the United States by millennia. China's accomplishments are breathtaking.
Yeah.
But China's also led by, let's be honest, a Communist Party monopoly, which engages in a lot of criminal behavior. Lex, Tibet is Ukraine. Xinjiang is Ukraine. Hong Kong is Ukraine. Let alone support for Putin, Ukraine. This is before we've even discussed Taiwan. And so now the Europeans are coming to see this, and the Americans are coming to understand this, that maybe trading with a regime like that, morally, politically, criminally, Tibet, Xinjiang, Hong Kong, how is that different from what Putin is doing in Ukraine? I'd be hard-pressed to differentiate that ultimately, even though the analogies are not exact. And so the Chinese, it's like that guy Leonov, the author of Lichaletia, the great memoir of the late Soviet period, the end of the Soviet Union. That they spend all this time and all these resources blackening our image, but we supply them with endless material to blacken our image. That's where Xi Jinping's regime is right now, Lex. And so they have a big dilemma on their side. It's a Western world, and they've united the Western world and reawoken the Western world to the fact that China is a threat to the values, the institutions and values of the West, and that trade is not transforming China, quite the opposite. We'll see if this endures. Maybe it doesn't endure. Maybe it's a fleeting moment. Maybe this is not an inflection point. Maybe the war in Ukraine ends more quickly than we think. And maybe, like you said, the Chinese and the Indians and the rest of them, the leaders there, they get their wish that it ends and the world moves on and forgets or says, let's try again to resume our mutual understanding, our mutually beneficial trade, and everything else. Maybe it's a passing phase. We can't exclude that. I'm very poor at predicting the future. But the moment is not a good one for the Chinese regime, let alone the fact that he's trying to impose an unprecedented, in the modern era, third term for himself as president in the fall at the next party Congress, becoming president for life, de facto, a Mao-like figure. And he's now got to do that in this environment where he has damaged Chinese grand strategy and damaged the reputation of China and its relationships across the world. Maybe not permanently, but significantly. In addition to the problems they have at home, demography, as you know, a middle income trap, and then the regulatory insanity of Chinese communist rule that we've seen with the tech companies that you know well, where they've destroyed all of that value, with the blow up of their property sector because it was a massive bubble, and that's still playing out. And this time it's the same, meaning this time it's not different. When it comes to a property blowout, it has enormous effects on middle-class balance sheets and their ability to remain consumers and drive the economy, which is the model that they have to shift. So he's got a litany of challenges, independent even of the fact that he sided with his pal, Vladimir Putin, and their bromance is costing China very, very significantly.